Have you ever been asked a question that felt harmless, even kind, but deep down something told you it wasn't right? A gentle smile, a soft tone, and yet the moment you answered, you felt smaller, weaker, almost like you just stepped into a trap. That's the art of the liar. They don't just deceive with statements. They deceive with questions. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You've probably been caught in this game before. At work, in relationships, even within your own family. You hear a question that sounds innocent, but it's laced with hidden accusation, manipulation, or guilt. By the time you respond, you've already given them power. You start doubting yourself, apologizing for things you never did, defending yourself when you weren't even on trial. Suddenly, the battle is no longer between you and them, it's between you and your own mind. The Stoics warned us about this 2,000 years ago. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they all understood that liars rarely confront you head-on. They don't need to. All they need to do is plant seeds of doubt, and then let you destroy yourself from within. Back then, it might have been whispers in the Senate or rumors in the marketplace. Today, it shows up in boardrooms, breakups, and even text messages. The tactic hasn't changed, it's only become more subtle. And that's why this matters. Because the questions we're going to expose today are not random. They're weapons, each one designed to disarm you, confuse you, or wear you down until you give in. But here's the good news. Once you recognize the tactic, it loses its power. Once you see the pattern, you can step out of the trap. And once you anchor yourself in Stoic wisdom, you become calm, clear, and unshakable. So in this episode, we'll break down the 5 most dangerous questions liars ask. We'll look at how each one works, why it's effective, and most importantly, how to respond not with rage, not with panic, but with the kind of composure that disarms manipulation instantly. By the end, you'll see that you were never meant to be their pawn. You were meant to be the player. And before we dive in, let me say this. If this message resonates with you, don't just listen, practice. Share it with someone who needs it. And join us here at StoicCraft, where every week we bring ancient wisdom into the modern world. Because if there's one thing you'll need in this life full of noise and shadows, it's clarity. This is the first bullet fired by manipulators. It sounds harmless, almost like concern. They tilt their head, soften their voice, and say, "Why are you being so sensitive?" But don't be fooled. That's not curiosity. That's accusation. What they're really saying is, you're weak. You're imagining things. The problem isn't me, it's you. Think about how often this happens. You point out something that feels wrong, and instead of being heard, you're brushed aside with a laugh. In a relationship, maybe you notice your partner's tone has changed, or they're hiding something on their phone. You ask, and they dismiss you with, "Relax. You're just overreacting." At work, you raise a concern about ethics or fairness, only to hear, "Don't be so dramatic, it's just business." See what happened there? They didn't address the issue. They redirected it back onto you. Now, you're not talking about their behavior, you're defending your own perception. And the more you defend, the weaker you look. That's the trap. But here's the truth the Stoics knew well. Sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. It's the radar that picks up on cracks before they collapse the wall. A financial analyst who catches a small inconsistency is called paranoid until the fraud is revealed. A wife who senses subtle distance is called overreacting until the betrayal comes to light. In both cases, what looked like sensitivity was actually foresight. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Manipulators know this. They plant doubt in your imagination so you begin to believe that noticing is a flaw, that caring is weakness, that vigilance is paranoia. And once you accept that story, You start silencing yourself before they ever have to dot. So how would a Stoic respond? Not with anger, not with defensiveness. A Stoic sees the tactic and refuses to play along. Instead of chasing validation, you calmly reframe the moment. When someone asks, "Why are you being so sensitive?" you breathe, hold eye contact, and reply, "I'm not being sensitive. I'm being observant." Does that make you uncomfortable? One sentence, no explanation, no apology. And just like that, the mask begins to slip. Because here's the paradox. People who value truth will respect your awareness. They won't shame it. Only those with something to hide fear your perception. So the next time someone calls you to sensitive, remember this. Your awareness is not the problem, it's their exposure. And in that moment, the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm, stay grounded, and trust that your sensitivity is actually your strength on the surface. This sounds so gentle, almost sweet. Someone looks at you with soft eyes and asks, "You trust me, right?" But let's pause. Why would someone need to ask for trust if their actions already proved it? That's the first sign something isn't right. A trustworthy person doesn't need to demand your faith. Their consistency earns it. Their choices over time speak louder than any promise. But when someone insists on the words, "You trust me, right?" what they're really saying is, stop thinking. Stop questioning. Hand me the keys to your mind. And that's the red flag. Think about the situations where this shows up. A business partner avoids showing you the books, but leans in with, "Come on, just trust me." A lover hides their phone, gets defensive when you ask questions, then says, "Don't you trust me?" In both cases, trust isn't being built, it's being demanded. And demanded trust is nothing but a mask for manipulation. Epictetus warned us, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. When someone demands trust, they're shutting down curiosity. They want you to feel guilty for asking, guilty for checking, guilty for protecting yourself. And guilt is the leash they use to control you. But here's where Stoicism gives you a shield. The Stoic doesn't get swept up in guilt or panic. He practices apathy, the discipline of not letting emotions override reason. So when faced with, "You trust me, right?" you don't rush to reassure them. You don't collapse into defensiveness. Instead, you pause, breathe, and calmly reply, "Trust is earned through consistency. Are you asking me to ignore my judgment?" That one line flips the script. Now the spotlight isn't on you, it's on them. A liar will stumble, deflect, maybe even lash out. But a person of integrity won't be offended. They'll keep showing you, through steady action, that they are worthy of trust. And this is the core lesson. Trust is not a gift handed out under pressure. It is a fortress built stone by stone through time, truth, and consistency. To surrender it too quickly is to hand over your peace. So the next time someone presses you with, "You trust me, right?" don't rush to answer. Observe. Because a person who truly values trust won't need to ask for it. They'll simply live in a way that makes the answer obvious. This one is clever because it doesn't look like an attack. It looks like a simple question. But in reality, it's a shield. A way to flip the frame so you become the one on trial. Here's how it plays out. You raise a concern. You notice something doesn't add up. Maybe money is missing. Maybe a story keeps changing. Maybe you've spotted inconsistencies. You bring it up calmly, expecting clarity. But instead of answers, you get a sharp counterattack. "Wait, are you accusing me of something?" In that moment, the spotlight shifts. Suddenly, you're no longer the observer, you're the villain. Instead of focusing on their behavior, you find yourself defending your own motives. You rush to explain, No, that's not what I meant." And just like that, the power slips away. That's the trap. The Stoics understood this tactic well. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best answer to anger is silence." But silence doesn't mean surrender. It means refusing to play by rules designed to disarm you. If someone throws this question at you, they're trying to bait you into panic. They want you to fill the silence with apologies, to retreat from your own observation. Think of a courtroom. If the guilty person can make the judge apologize, the trial collapses. That's exactly what this question is meant to do. And once you see it for what it is, you'll never fall for it again. So how does a Stoic respond? With composure, with stillness. When someone demands, "Are you accusing me of something?" you don't rush. You don't scramble. You pause. You let the silence hang for 2, maybe 3 seconds. And then, calmly, you ask back, "Should I be?" 3 words. That's all it takes. In those 3 words, the weight shifts back where it belongs. The liar expected panic. They never expected calm power. Think of the real-world examples. A boss questioned about missing funds snaps, "Are you accusing me of stealing?" A partner confronted about secrecy blurts, "Are you accusing me of cheating?" Both responses are meant to put you on defense. But when you stay grounded, when you refuse to play their game, you expose the insecurity behind their words. And here's the deeper truth. The one who asks, "Are you accusing me of something?" is often revealing more than they intend. Because if there was nothing to hide, why react with panic? So the next time you hear this question, don't get pulled into defense. Don't rush to soothe them. Stay still. Hold your ground. And remember, truth does not panic, and wisdom never apologizes for simply observing. This one is poison wrapped in velvet. On the surface, it sounds tender, almost wounded, like you've just insulted them by even imagining they might lie. "Would I ever lie to you?" The tone is soft, the eyes are wide, the performance is flawless. But make no mistake, this is theater, not truth. Think about it. Why would someone need to ask such a question unless they already sensed you were close to the truth? Why stage a performance unless there was something to hide? A person of integrity doesn't need to defend their honesty with dramatic words. They let their actions speak, day after day, without fanfare. But the manipulator knows how to weaponize guilt. If they can make you feel ashamed for doubting them, you'll stop asking questions. You'll silence your own instincts. You'll hand over the very awareness that could have protected you. And that's how they win, not by proving innocence, but by shaming you into ignoring your intuition. Seneca gave us the timeless reminder: if it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it. Truth doesn't fear scrutiny. Lies do. So when someone insists, "Would I ever lie to you?" that insistence should make you more cautious, not less. Think of the real-life scenarios. The partner who hides messages on their phone. Art pleads, "Would I ever lie to you?" The colleague who dodges accountability yet protests, "Come on. Do you really think I'd lie?" The more they plead innocence with words, the more you should watch their patterns. Because words can be rehearsed. Patterns cannot. So how would a Stoic respond? Not by scrambling to reassure, not by panicking that you've offended them. The Stoic remains calm, anchored. When someone asks, "Would I ever lie to you?" you pause, you let the silence work in your favor, and then you reply, calmly, "That's not the question. The real question is, would I know if you did?" That one line cuts through the fog. It flips the pressure back to where it belongs. Because liars thrive in shadows, in confusion, in doubt. But when you shine the light of clarity, the shadows have nowhere left to hide. Here's the key takeaway. Honest people don't fear questions. They welcome them. They understand that transparency builds trust. Only liars see curiosity as a threat. So don't confuse a polished performance of innocence with the reality of truth. The next time you hear, "Would I ever lie to you?" don't get swept up in the drama. Watch their actions, Because actions never lie. This is the liar's final move, the desperation play. When denial doesn't work, when distraction doesn't work, when guilt doesn't work, they reach for exhaustion. They look at you with tired eyes, sigh heavily, and say, "Can't we just move on?" At first, it sounds peaceful. It sounds like an invitation to heal, to let go of the past. But listen closely. This question is not about resolution, it's about escape. What they're really saying is, I don't want accountability. I don't want to face the truth. I just need you tired to keep digging. And that's how many lies survive, not because the liar outsmarts the truth, but because the truth seeker grows weary and gives up. You see this everywhere. A company is caught in scandal, and the leaders stand in front of cameras, saying, "Let's not dwell on the past. Let's focus on the future." His spouse exposed in betrayal pleads, "Why keep talking about it? Let's move forward." In both cases, the words sound like peace, but the intent is silence to bury what still festers in the dark. But here's what Stoicism reminds us. Truth has no expiration date. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice he didn't add, "unless it's inconvenient." For the Stoic, truth remains truth, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. So how do you respond when someone says, "Can't we just move on?" Not with rage, not with endless arguments, but with calm resolve. You breathe, hold steady, and say, "I'll move on when I understand what happened." Not before. That single line anchors you in clarity. It tells the liar you cannot be rushed, that your peace is built on honesty, not fatigue, and it protects you from falling into the trap of forced forgiveness, which isn't real healing, it's just suppression. Here's the paradox. When the liar says, "Can't we move on?" what they want is distance from accountability. But when you refuse to surrender, when you stand calmly in truth, their game is over. Because time itself is neutral. Lies don't fade with the clock, and truth doesn't weaken because someone grows impatient. So remember this. Moving on is not about speed. It's about honesty. Only when the truth is faced can peace truly begin. And the Stoic never trades clarity for comfort. Let's step back for a moment. After walking through these 5 dangerous questions, you might have noticed a pattern. Liars don't rely on facts. They don't rely on logic. What they rely on is your emotional reaction. Their battlefield isn't truth, it's your balance. Here's how it works. They'll guilt you. "Why are you being so sensitive?" They'll shame you. "You trust me, right?" They'll confuse you. "Are you accusing me of something?" They'll guilt trip you with drama. "Will I ever lie to you?" And when all else fails, they'll exhaust you. "Can't we just move on?" These are not random words. They're pressure points. Each one is designed to push you into emotion, because once you're emotional, you stop thinking clearly. You start defending, apologizing, or backing down. And that's exactly what gives them control. Modern psychology confirms this. Manipulators thrive on what's called emotional hijacking. When your amygdala, the brain's fear and stress center, takes over, your reasoning shuts down. You're no longer calm, no longer rational. You're reacting instead of observing. And that's when you're easiest to control. But this is where Stoicism becomes your shield. Epictetus taught the simplest, most powerful distinction. Some things are in our control, others are not. Once you hold on to that truth, everything changes. Their tone, not in your control. Their guilt trips, not in your control. Their attempts to twist the frame, not in your control. But your response, that's yours, always. Picture yourself standing in a storm. Winds howl, rain lashes, thunder roars. Most people panic, scramble, run for cover. But the Stoic, he plants his feet, he breathes, he holds steady. He knows he cannot stop the storm, but he can stop the storm from entering his mind. That's apathy, not numbness, but clarity in the middle of chaos. And here's the secret manipulators never expect. Their greatest weapon only works if you give them your reaction. Take that away, and the weapon shatters in their hands. So the next time you feel someone trying to hijack your emotions with these subtle questions, remember you don't have to fight fire with fire. You fight it with calm, with silence, with steady observation, because the one who sees clearly cannot be controlled. So let's bring everything together. 5 simple questions, each one sounding harmless, even gentle. Why are you being so sensitive? You trust me, right? Are you accusing me of something? Would I ever lie to you? Can't we just move on? On the surface, they look like conversation, but underneath, they are weapons carefully designed to shift blame, create guilt, and steal your clarity. And here's the truth. You don't need to fight these questions with louder words. You don't need to get caught in endless arguments. You don't need to defend yourself until you're exhausted. What you need is what the Stoics practiced every day: calm, clarity, and self-mastery. Because once you see the game, you no longer play it. Think back on your own life. Maybe you've been shamed as too sensitive. Maybe someone demanded blind trust without ever earning it. Maybe they flipped the script and made you feel guilty just for noticing the truth. Or maybe they begged you to move on, not for healing, but to escape accountability. If you've experienced this, you know how heavy it feels. But now you also know you don't have to carry it anymore. The Stoics remind us that freedom begins with control over the only thing that truly belongs to us: our response. You can't control their lies, but you can control whether you let those lies define you. You can't stop them from planting seeds of doubt, but you can choose not to water them. And you can't silence their games, but you can let your silence be the end of their power over you. So as we close, carry this affirmation with you. I choose clarity. Say it when someone tries to guilt you. Say it when doubt creeps in. Say it when manipulation knocks on your door. Because clarity is strength, and once you choose it, no one can twist your perception without your permission. If this message resonated with you, take action now. Like this video so the algorithm carries Stoic wisdom to more people who need it. Share it with a friend who's been struggling with toxic manipulation. Drop your affirmation "I choose clarity" in the comments, because your voice matters here. And most importantly, subscribe to StoicCraft. Every week, we explore timeless Stoic truths, sharpened for the battles of modern life. Remember this: lies thrive in shadows, but you are no longer in the dark. You see clearly, you stand steady, and the one who sees clearly can never be controlled.